G'day everyone, this is That Concerned Guy. For this clip, I'd like to talk about the evolving Melburnian accent of Australia. And what I mean by that is the the city Melbourne and other and the southern, well, mostly the southern part of Victoria, the Victorian state of Australia, is developing its own regional accent, which is kind of a surprise for a lot of people because Australia traditionally has been known as a country where there's very minimal regional variations in the accent accent that is within Australian English. There's lack of regional variations, regional accents and dialects. Because it's fairly uniform and homogeneous compared to other Anglophone countries, such as, of course, England, and the USA. One of the reasons for this is because Australia is a fairly young nation which was only established as an English colony merely 230 years ago, which is not a very long time. Well, compared to say America, for instance, which had over 400 years of European settlement, well, British settlement plus other European settlers such as the Dutch, the Germans, Irish, etc., etc. In regards to Australia, well, it's only been, yeah, just over 200 years of European settlement, and Australian population has been largely mobile because of modern transportation in regards to having trains, for instance, boats, and later on the vehicle, and then vehicle, and then airplanes, etc., etc. So Australia was colonized at a time when the Industrial Revolution was happening, and so it made it a lot easier for these pioneer settlers in Australia to move about in different areas of the Australian continent. So many of the white settlers to Australia, they've they disembarked onto Sydney ports, and then after that, many's remained in Sydney and the Botany Bay area, but others decide to migrate towards other areas such as Victoria, South Australia, some to South Australia, Queensland, etc., etc. So the Australian accent was fairly uniform during around 1830s, 40s, 1840s, when the first generation Australians born in the country, born in the Australian colonies, they came from parents who came from different areas of England, such as those from London, or Yorkshire, Cornwall, or yes, or Manchester or whatever, and plus also there were Irish settlers as well, Scottish, and also to some extent other European settlers such as the Germans and yes, and some other Northern European nationalities also came in to settle to Australia, but it was predominantly British, put it simply. And all the accents of these people, when they had kids born in Australia, the kids started to level out their accents to conform into a more uniform accent that formed the Australian accent. So the kids generally they like to speak like their peers, like they learn usually the accent. Like people learn their accent mostly from their friends and peers of their same age, same generation, compared to learning their accents from their parents. So yeah, so the mix of accents and dialects that emerged in Australia during 1830s and 40s among the first generations born in Australia have leveled out these accents to form the modern Australian accent. So this became the standard accent, well, general Australian accent spoken around the nation. That, despite being whether in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Adelaide, Perth, or Hobart, so it's relatively uniform. There might be slight differences, but during that time, but it was largely uniform, homogeneous, because of easy migration towards other areas of the country, uh, which leveled out these regional differences. Whereas England had thousands of years of time and social distances that created dialects and accents because of geographical isolation. Anyway, in regards to the Melbourne accent, the Melburnians, they're likely to say Melbourne instead of Melbourne. You see how the EL becomes more of an AL. It's sort of a yeah. And for example, Ellen, the female name Ellen, is commonly pronounced as the male name Alan, and also celery, the vegetable, is usually pronounced as salary, like the salary of your pay or from your job, or television instead of television, for instance. So yeah, there's a slight difference in this pronunciation that's creating a system of different pronunciations, sound change that is happening. But also, some South Australians do say salary instead of celery, or television instead of television as well. So it depends. It's probably because there's been a lot more. There's a bit of more recent interaction between South Australians and Victorians lately, especially Victorians in Western Victorians, not too far from the South Australian border, had some more regular contacts with South Australians just across the border. So that might be the reason. But Australian linguists claim that this EL-AL shift is not as common in New South Wales past the Victorian New South Wales border over the Murray River. So yeah, it's Sydney doesn't tend to not say the EL-AL swapping sounds, which is kind of interesting. So despite the social mobility and the modern transportation these days, there might be a possibility that regional accents and dialects might emerge in the future, later on in the future. Yeah, that's what a number of Australian linguists claim that it could happen. So it's quite yeah. So they say that these general sound changes happen because of little slight differences. Basically, it's these little microprocesses that happen and they start impacting on the larger system. Wow, that's pretty interesting. It does. So slight changes in certain vowel changes or certain pronunciations can lead to other changes and to form a unique regional accent. So what do you think? Any Aussies here have have noticed this? Have any of you guys noticed regional accents and dialects are slowly forming in Australia in different areas of Australia, different from your own region, where you grew up or where you live now? Yes, I would like to know more about this. I'd like to know what your views are. So please place a comment below. Please give a good like, a big like for this clip if you find this interesting, and subscribe to my channel if you like more topics that are similar to this. And yeah, well, and thank you for listening. Mabuhay.